I'm Lucie Fink, and this week is 5 days of wedding planning. Hello everyone, welcome back to New York City and welcome back to Refinery29's YouTube channel. If you're new here and you haven't yet subscribed, be sure to click on the little subscribe button down here. Be sure you're subscribed to my personal YouTube channel at Lucie Fink and give this video a thumbs up if you're excited for a new Try Living with Lucie episode. This is sadly going to be one of the last episodes ever that I shoot in this bedroom because Michael and I are moving soon. So look around and say goodbye, take it all in. Now I know why you're all here, and that's because you want all of the details and all of the behind the scenes info about wedding planning. So let's just get into the video. Honestly, there is so much that goes into the entire wedding planning process, just way more than can fit into one YouTube video. If I actually made this video accurate and I tracked the video through the entire process, this video would be a year-long video. So for this video, I'm gonna pick 5 major aspects of wedding planning to explore, but just know we're scratching the surface here. One disclaimer that I wanna make up front is that this video is probably going to be most interesting and also most helpful to people out there that wanna have a traditional wedding. A big party with your family and friends, a caterer, a band or a DJ, a blow. However, every wedding is different and every bride and groom wants something different from their wedding day. Many people don't even want a wedding at all. So if you're interested in a very small personal wedding, a lot of the details that I'm about to throw at you will probably not be applicable to your situation. Michael and I both wanted to have a big wedding celebration, and we also both have very big families. So that's why this video is going to be pretty traditional. Now that the disclaimer's out of the way, let's go. The first thing that you'll likely need to consider, and probably the least fun aspect of all of this, is your budget. Your budget is going to dictate everything you do moving forward. There are a ton of online tools that can help you when it comes to planning your wedding budget, but because that is so not fun, that's what I'm going to skip over right now to get to the fun stuff. Things I will cover in this video: selecting your venue, your color scheme and flowers, wedding invitations and all the day of stationery, picking your dress, and of course, catering and the cake. As I've mentioned in a couple of previous videos, Michael and I are using wedding planners, so before we go any further, let me introduce you to them.
I'm Sarah Duke.
And I'm Taylor Van Dusen, and we are Lucie and Michael's wedding planners.
We've been working together since 2013, but we've been friends since birth. Pretty much.
Lucie really did come in with a really strong idea of where she wanted to take the wedding and those different details, but did really leave it open.
She really has had so much fun with this process. She knew what she was looking for in terms of design and aesthetic, but she's been so open-minded and really creative throughout the process.
And now let's dive in to step 1, finding your venue.
First step in looking for a location for a bride would be to determine their budget as well as how many guests that they will be having. The process can begin a full year for some clients, and these places book up fast.
Some brides and grooms start the wedding planning process by actually diving into the nitty-gritty details. Napkin rings, bouquets, what color dance floor they want to have. But I think the small details are best kept for later, and I would say that immediately after you set your budget, the next big thing you should do is find your venue. You might be surprised how far in advance you need to book some of these venues. Of course, it depends on the time of year, the location, and also how many other couples are vying for that same space. But just to give you an idea, Michael and I signed the contract for our wedding venue in May 2018, which is 1 year and 4 months before our actual wedding date. And to be totally honest, a lot of other weekend dates around our date were already booked at our venue at that time. You really do have to pick that venue first, because if you think about it, the venue is going to be the place that dictates what day you can get married, and you can't start booking things like florists and bands and caterers until you can tell them exactly when and where you're getting married. And when it comes time to look at venues, there are a ton of factors to consider. Of course, there's the visual appeal. You want to make sure that both the outside and the inside of the venue fit with the vibe you're trying to create. You kind of need to know a rough number of how many people you plan on inviting, because a lot of these venues do have a cap on the amount of people they can hold. And this is the moment when you're really going to start making some major decisions about your event. Is it a beach wedding? Is it on a lake? Is it in a forest? Is it in a hotel? Are you having the ceremony inside or outside, at a church or any other religious space? At first, Michael and I thought that we wanted to get married in New York City, potentially on a rooftop with city views. So we did start out by looking at a few venues locally. So despite this footage that you're seeing right now, which shows me walking through a venue totally by myself, I did in fact do this process with Michael. I just had to go back to film it during the work week when he wasn't available because we didn't actually want to film the real experience when we were trying to pick a venue. Tribeca Rooftop is a gorgeous venue in New York City that has stunning views of the Hudson River and of the Freedom Tower, and the indoor section has a glass ceiling and a giant open space that you can do so many things with. The Glass House is another beautiful venue with huge windows and amazing city views. Typically when you visit these places as a potential wedding venue, someone is giving you a tour and showing you the whole space. And I found that one of the most helpful parts of this is when you sit down with that person and they show you photos of the space from previous events that have been there. Michael and I ultimately settled on a venue outside of the city because we wanted our wedding to feel like more of a full weekend getaway. But the venue we chose is an art museum, which makes things a little bit trickier. It's not a standard event space that has tables and chairs or even a kitchen. So we have to bring in everything from every fork and knife to the dance floor itself, to even assembling a cook tent with backup generators for the caterers. So there is a lot to think about here when it comes to venues.
Typically 15% of your overall budget goes to the venue.
After securing your venue and your wedding date, I'd say the next big thing to focus on is to start building a mood board. Look at colors you love, floral arrangements, and overall design inspiration. Our venue is a very raw space, so if we didn't have any design elements in the room, it would pretty much just be black walls with a solid slate floor. So this was the moment in the wedding journey when I went crazy with Pinterest, magazines, design books, and so much more. Typically, one of the most prominent elements of planning a wedding is selecting your floral arrangements.
One of the things to be considering when looking at flowers for your wedding is the time of year you're deciding to get married, because a lot of the flowers that you're looking at might be only available in the spring or some that are only available in the fall.
Certain types of flowers actually signify different moods or hold deeper meanings. For instance, as you might already know, a red rose symbolizes deep love, passion, and unwavering affection. But a yellow rose much of the time is saying get well soon. Now listen, a lot of people choose their wedding color scheme purely based on aesthetics. As I did not do too much floral research here. But this can be a moment where you can get a little bit poetic or deep if you're into that. The various aspects that are going to ultimately play into how your overall wedding looks include the furniture that you're going to rent, like the tables and chairs, every plate, dish, napkin, and fork, centerpieces, candles, bread baskets, and then of course lighting. Is it a daytime wedding? Is it dimly lit at night? The way things worked with our florist was that we had a couple of meetings early on where we showed design inspiration and talked through things we liked and didn't like. Their team has been taking everything we've said and sent them into account, and they've been sending us emails back where they're actually sending through pictures of what our space is going to look like. And then one day, about 1 month before the wedding, we're going to do one more in-person meeting where we'll have a final mock-up. So we'll actually go there in person and see a table set up exactly the way it's going to look at our wedding. And that's when we can get really hands-on and start moving things around a little and just making final tweaks to the look. One thing that was really stressful to me when discussing the flowers was realizing how wasteful the floral process is. You pay for so many flowers, it's such a big expense, they're so beautiful, but they're used for 5 hours and then they're thrown away. So on our wedding day, we'll be partnering with a company called Repeat Roses, and they basically come to your venue, they collect all of your flowers, and then they take them to cancer treatment centers and hospitals nearby. They leave them there for about another week or so, and then when they're really at the end of their life cycle, they pick the flowers back up and they compost them. I think it's an amazing way to add a charitable element to your wedding while also reducing your environmental impact.
Typically 25 to 30% of your overall budget will go towards floral and decor, rentals, and lighting.
As a calligraphy and stationery junkie, I have to say that planning out the invitations and also the entire suite of day of paper products was one of the most fun parts of the entire process for me.
This is the one area in the budget where people always say they don't want to spend a lot and then always end up overspending once they see all these options.
I did for a brief second consider hand lettering all of our invitations, but I quickly realized how much work that was going to be. So thankfully I came across a custom letterpress and wedding invitation boutique in Manhattan called Ipanema Press.
Hi, I'm Adrienne. I'm the owner of Ipanema Press. There are so many options that we talk about with clients when they come in to look at stationery. The paper, the print method, the ink colors, the envelope liners, the type of envelopes you use. So from the first stages of save the dates all the way through till the day of stationery, place cards, and menus, we take it step by step so it's not so overwhelming.
We're working with Ipanema for all of our wedding paper products. So the invitations, RSVP cards, menus, place cards, even thank you notes, and a lot more. Traditionally, someone would probably use that same company that's doing all of that to make their save the dates. But if you've watched any of my previous wedding videos, you might know that Michael and I chose to send out a save the date video instead of save the date cards. If you want to watch that, it's on my Instagram TV at Lucie Fink.
When Lucie came in, she wasn't quite sure what direction she wanted to go in, but she did have a venue that was modern. So from there, we decided, let's go with something that is super simple and really clean and really unusual. So we walked through the whole process. We looked at papers. Lucie really loved this beautiful textured cotton paper. She liked touches of modern calligraphy, but also like a really clean, streamlined block font.
One thing I realized after we sent out our invitations was just how important they are as a physical reminder to really get your guests excited for your big day. I can't even tell you how many of our guests called me or emailed me or called my parents to let everyone know how excited they were once they actually got the invitation. And the process of actually packing up the invitations to send them off was so much fun. My family got together and we basically just made a huge assembly line and had an envelope stuffing party. We all put on surgical gloves to protect the invitations from the oils on our hands, and we went through our guest list person by person and packed up each person's invite individually, adding all of the necessary elements, and then we mailed them all out in bulk. And don't even get me started about all of the excitement of starting to see people's RSVP cards roll in.
I would say about 5% of your overall budget goes towards the save the date invitations and also the day of stationery.
If you haven't watched any of my previous videos on this topic, here's a quick recap. When it came time to pick my dress, there was pretty much only one bridal boutique that came to mind, and that is Kleinfeld Bridal, home of Say Yes to the Dress. And it only took me 2 appointments to find my dream dress. In my first session at Kleinfeld, I genuinely liked almost every dress I tried on. They were all gorgeous, and I could have seen myself picking pretty much any of those. So I left kind of confused. At my second appointment, I was in the process of trying on some of the same dresses from my first appointment when my Kleinfeld stylist, Debbie, said, "Hang on, give me 1 second. I'm gonna go grab one new dress that just came in from Milan." She came back with this gorgeous dress in this clear packaging. I knew it was the one the moment she unzipped it and I saw it. And it was nothing short of a magical moment. I screamed, and then I looked myself in the mirror and I had this sort of out-of-body experience where I was making eye contact with myself while I was thinking, wow, this is so strange. I'm watching myself put on my wedding gown for the first time. Some brides like to change outfits between the ceremony and the reception, so they might have 2, maybe even 3 dresses. Once I found this dress, I just knew that I loved it so much and I had to spend the entire night in it. So I only have one dress and I won't be taking it off. Seriously, I might even sleep in it. And about 3 minutes after I first stepped into this gown, I officially said yes to the dress. So you're currently seeing footage of me trying on dresses at Kleinfeld, and I have a whole video on this, but I'm not showing you the dress that I ended up selecting. Stay tuned on my Instagram account and my YouTube channel after September 21st for the final reveal.
We don't usually include the wedding dress in our budget at all because our clients are looking for such different things when it comes to their dress.
When choosing a caterer, we like to think about, again, what location we've chosen and what time of year that is, because we want to keep it seasonal.
Let's be honest, being a professional food taster seems like it would be one of the best jobs in the entire world. And as a bride and groom to be, you basically get to do this. The food served at your event can be a big part of your wedding day if you choose for it to be. And every catering company specializes in something different. Some are amazing at using locally sourced ingredients. Others have a stunning presentation that looks like something right at a chef's table. But I have to say, one of the most fun parts about being a bride-to-be is getting to do the food tastings. Some catering companies do tastings entirely for free. Others only charge you if you choose not to go with them for your event. So definitely do some research before you start filling up your calendar with tastings. But this is really where you can start to put yourself in the shoes of your guests and develop a delicious menu. The footage that you're seeing right now was recreated footage with the catering company that we chose for our wedding, Events by Peter Ambrose. churros. And here you're seeing me tasting the food all by myself because once again, this is recreated footage. But in reality, this was a whole family affair. Chef Pete came into our family home and essentially did one giant dinner for 9 of us. It was basically a big meal of mini tastings of different hors d'oeuvres, appetizers, main courses, and of course, a ton of dessert options. Everyone gets a menu card in front of them, and then as you're eating, you take notes right on the menu card. Then at the end, we talk about what people liked or what they want to swap out until ultimately we can develop a menu that everyone loves. And you can't forget about the cake. So we did our cake tasting on the same day as this catering tasting, even though the cake is a different company.
The cake is another opportunity where we really style this to fit with the overall look of the wedding. So we really think about what we're placing this cake on, having the floral team come in and add flowers to style it. It's another moment.
I actually did an entire episode of Lucie for Hire as a wedding cake maker, and that was years before we got engaged, but I really do know how intense and how intricate the cake process can be. I think the best way to go about choosing what your wedding cake is gonna look like is just to look through the internet and find photos that you love. And that's what we did, and it was very easy. But there's also the option of looking through your cake maker's repertoire and seeing what they specialize in or other cakes they've already made. Or if you're really crafty, you can draw a cake design on your own and build it from scratch.
Generally, about 20% of your budget will go towards catering.
30% of your budget goes to everything else that we haven't covered.
We're not even at marriage yet, and wedding planning has been a journey in and of itself. I'm not gonna lie, it has been a little bit stressful at times, but overall, it's incredibly fun. And truthfully, I wouldn't have even known where to begin without our planners. So if you can find planners that you like, I would highly recommend passing off most of the heavy lifting to them, especially if you already have a full-time job. Some planners charge by the hour, others tack on a fee to the total cost of your wedding, so just do some research and figure out what works best for you. Just to be sure I mention it, here are some other major aspects of wedding planning that I didn't even cover in this video, but are still very important to consider. Choosing your wedding band or DJ, choosing your wedding bands, the rings, having hair and makeup trials, hiring a photographer and or a videographer, building your wedding registry, assembling all of your accessories for the day of, including shoes, any jewelry you're gonna wear, something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. And of course, planning your honeymoon. Be sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and following my Instagram account. Both are at Lucie Fink because I'll likely be sharing a little bit more wedding prep content before September 21st. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked learning more about my wedding planning process. And if you've already had a wedding or if you just have tips to share, please comment them below. Thank you so much for coming back as always, and we'll see you next time on Try Living with Lucie. Mwah. Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Click here for another video on this channel, right here to subscribe to R29 on YouTube, and right here for my personal YouTube channel. Don't forget to find me on Instagram at Lucie Fink and comment below with your next Try Living with Lucie suggestion. See ya!